Standing on this land, it might be hard to imagine that beneath your feet lies a super copper mine worth hundreds of billions of dollars. However, this area also boasts one of the harshest and most challenging mining conditions in the world. While some countries have attempted to unlock the vast wealth within this land, they have all ultimately failed. They even admit that no country could truly exploit such a hell-level mineral resource. Just when everyone seemed to have given up, China made a surprising decision. They purchased this hell mine in Peru for a staggering $7 billion. At the time, almost everyone mocked China, claiming that this $7 billion investment would be worthless. But a decade later, the Western countries that once watched with amusement have suddenly fallen silent, with some even openly expressing their envy of China. So what exactly happened? Can China truly mine the copper from this hell mine? If you like our video content, please click to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can receive all our latest video content. Now, let's get into today's topic. The Las Bambas copper mine is located in the Peruvian Andes at an altitude of over 4,000 meters. Its harsh environment is enough to deter even the world's most experienced exploration teams. The mine area is shrouded in freezing temperatures year-round, with oxygen levels as low as -10 degrees Celsius, and the air contains only 60% of the oxygen content found in the plains. Under these conditions, workers are prone to severe altitude sickness, including severe headaches and difficulty breathing, even with the slightest movement. Even more devastating, snowstorms occur over 200 days a year, often completely blocking the mine. Frozen equipment and frozen pipes are commonplace. An early exploration team was forced to abandon their entire camp due to a 2-week snowstorm. Due to extremely poor transportation, the copper mine has become a virtual island isolated from the outside world. Access to the mine is limited to a single, winding dirt road, riddled with gravel and ice crevasses, making it extremely dangerous. Large mining equipment must be disassembled into its component parts before it can be transported in, a cost at least 3 times higher than that of a typical mine. In 2013, Swiss mining giant Glencore tried to transport a large crusher here, but it fell on a cliff section, causing direct losses of more than $50 million. Naturally, as people's environmental awareness grows, environmental issues have become a focal point. This is because the Moquegua region, where the copper mine is located, lies within a protected water source area in the upper Amazon River. Local environmental regulations require that the copper ion content in mining wastewater be strictly controlled below 0.1 milligrams per liter, a standard that is nearly 1/50th of the drinking water standard. As early as 2009, a Canadian mining company attempted to develop this copper mine, resulting in severe damage to the local ecological environment. The company was ultimately fined $20 million by the local government and forced to suspend operations and withdraw. Regarding this copper mine, known as the Hell Mine, many global mining giants have a remarkably consistent attitude. They will never touch this thorny rose lightly. However, shockingly, China made a decision that could almost be described as crazy. It invested over $7 billion to acquire the entire mine, aiming to conquer this vast and complex mineral resource. So, why did China spend so much money to acquire this super copper mine? As we all know, China is one of the world's leading manufacturing nations, consuming nearly as much copper annually as the entire European Union. However, China's domestic copper resources face a significant problem: a shortage of rich ores and a preponderance of poorer ones. To date, there are 2,250 proven copper deposits in the country, with cumulative reserves of approximately 99 million tons. Globally, land-based copper reserves total approximately 700 million tons. Yet China, with a land area of 9.6 million square kilometers, accounts for only 3.9% of the world's total copper reserves. As early as 2014, China's refined copper imports exceeded 4.5 million tons, but 80% of this was dependent on Latin American countries like Chile and Peru. That same year, a workers' strike at Chile's national copper company caused domestic copper prices in China to surge by 5% in just one day. This feeling of being strangled has made China realize that without an independent and controllable resource supply chain, even the most powerful manufacturing industry is useless. Furthermore, from the perspective of industrial upgrading, copper resources have become a key obstacle in China's transition from a manufacturing powerhouse to a manufacturing superpower. China's annual production of new energy vehicles is poised to exceed 5 million, and an electric vehicle uses approximately 4 times as much copper in its motors and batteries as a traditional fuel-powered vehicle. Against this backdrop, Peru's Las Bambas copper mine assumes particular importance. With proven copper reserves of 10 million tons, the mine provides a steady supply of raw materials for the electric vehicle industry. To secure this super copper mine, the Chinese government personally spearheaded a $7 billion syndicated loan, a feat that set a record for cross-border mining investment by Chinese banks. However, at the time, almost all Western countries were skeptical of China's investment, even dismissing it as mere bravado. However, a decade later, when Western countries once again set their sights on the Las Bambas copper mine, nestled deep in the Andes, they could hardly believe their eyes. When satellite maps clearly revealed the mining area's new look, the outside world truly realized the profound transformation it had undergone. The main road, once bumpy and muddy, is now wide, smooth, and neatly organized. In the core area of the mine, a modern mineral processing plant, covering nearly 100 acres, has sprung up, its automated sorting equipment operating day and night in meticulous order. Copper, lithium, and other rare resources extracted from this site are continuously loaded onto specialized freight trains, traversing the Andes Mountains to Pacific ports and then shipped to China. This would have seemed impossible to many, but China has accomplished it. Some Western countries remain skeptical, feigning indifference, yet their hearts are deeply etched. They know that this super large copper mine is being mined continuously, and in the future, it may bring China immeasurable strategic resource advantages and economic returns. But few truly understand how, step by step, has China transformed this hellish copper mine into the sustainable, modern mining area it is today. Industry insiders consider the development of the Las Bambas copper mine to be the Mount Everest of the mining industry. At an altitude of 4,000 meters, oxygen levels are only 60% of those in the plains, making even the slightest exertion easily cause dizziness. As we've mentioned before, the mine's mountain roads are single-lane and extremely difficult to navigate, making transporting large equipment nearly impossible. Environmental standards are also incredibly high, requiring approval 3 months in advance for even a single blast. As soon as the Chinese engineering team entered this hell mine, they were slammed by 3 consecutive months of sandstorms, leaving them unable to even pitch their tents. Wearing gas masks, the Chinese engineers persevered through their survey amidst the swirling dust. Furthermore, the mine's location in the foothills of the Andes Mountains presents an extremely complex geological structure. A sudden downpour triggered a landslide, destroying the newly constructed temporary access road. More than 30 workers were trapped mid-mountain, ultimately relying on helicopter airdrops for supplies to keep them afloat. Technical challenges also posed a significant challenge to the engineering team. At an altitude exceeding 4,000 meters, traditional mining equipment frequently malfunctioned. The Chinese engineering team had to collaborate with domestic research institutions to develop specialized machinery adapted to the high altitude and intense radiation environment. Furthermore, frequent earthquakes in the region forced China's infrastructure construction to halt multiple times. The main mine tunnel alone had to be reworked 3 times due to geological changes, each time costing hundreds of millions of yuan in investment. But even in the face of these challenges, the Chinese engineers remained undaunted. To address the transportation corridor, they first surveyed the terrain using drones, then employed excavation equipment to carve a 4-lane, 2-way transportation route through the sheer cliffs. To ensure worker safety, the Chinese engineering team also equipped each worker with a smart helmet that monitored their heart rate and oxygen levels in real time. In Lima, Peru, China also invested $100 million to build a remote control center. Leveraging 5G networks, Chinese engineers have built a comprehensive automated system, from blasting or processing to remotely controlling excavators 4,000 kilometers away. 80% of the work can be performed from the control room. This has truly ushered the Las Bambas mining area into the era of smart mines. In 2023, a sudden landslide struck the mining area. China's intelligence system immediately issued an early warning, enabling the complete evacuation of all personnel in just 10 minutes. Notably, in 2021, many local villagers, influenced by Western public opinion, feared that Chinese mining development would damage water resources. This forced the mining area to suspend operations for 50 days, triggering a rapid rise in global copper prices. However, China chose not to confront the situation. Instead, it proactively engaged in multiple rounds of communication with the Peruvian government and local communities. Ultimately, Chinese companies pledged to increase community dividends and invested 80 million yuan to build the Kutaketai Bridge, reducing commuting time for surrounding residents by a full 4 hours. In terms of environmental protection, China has introduced advanced environmental protection technologies and equipment to the Las Bambas mine. It has also funded 34 communities to jointly build a 368-hectare reforestation project and release 600,000 trout fingerlings in 7 surrounding communities, actively participating in the restoration of the local ecosystem. Furthermore, Chinese companies have launched the Heart of Las Bambas program, regularly organizing community forums and open houses to listen to residents' opinions and suggestions, truly achieving a shared vision of building and sharing with the community. Today, 60% of young people in towns surrounding the mine are willing to work at the mine, earning 3 times the local average. 10 years later, the value of China's investment in the Las Bambas copper mine has far exceeded expectations. At the current copper price of $10,000 per ton, the 2.7 million tons of copper already mined are worth $27 billion. Remaining recoverable reserves exceed 10 million tons, implying a total value of nearly $100 billion. More importantly, every year 400,000 tons of copper concentrate is loaded onto ships from the port of Matarani in Peru, arrives at the port of Nanjing 23 days later, and is then sent directly to smelters such as Jiangxi Copper and Tongling non-ferrous metals, eventually becoming core materials such as motors for new energy vehicles and cables for photovoltaic power stations. Of course, for Peru, this copper mine is an economic engine. In the Apurimac region, where the mine is located, per capita GDP has more than tripled from $1,300 in 2014 to $4,000 in 2023. The mine has also paid over $1.7 billion in taxes, equivalent to 5% of Peru's annual fiscal revenue. To further leverage the mine's economic value, China has invested $120 million in upgrading the port of Matarani, increasing copper transportation efficiency by 50%. They are also collaborating with local companies to build a smelter to process copper concentrate into semi-finished products for export, increasing added value. There are even plans to build a solar power plant at the mine site to achieve 100% renewable energy power. Furthermore, China has supported the Belgrano Freight Railway renovation project, investing $200 million. The first phase of the project is now fully completed and operational, with an annual transport capacity of 2.65 million tons and an 80% reduction in transportation costs. As global demand for copper continues to rise due to the explosive growth of the new energy industry, the value of this mobile gold mine is expected to soar even further. And it is through such overseas layout that China is quietly rewriting the global resource map. To not miss out on our future projects and news updates, please make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. We will continue to provide you with more exciting and interesting content.